Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's Football Show here on STV2. The main talking points on tonight's programme:
Rangers moving forward in their search for a manager. Motherwell decide against an appeal for Cedric Kipre. Dembele in fitness race for Anderlecht.
Yeah, that's just a few of the talking points Alan Ruff and myself, Peter Martin, will be discussing on the programme tonight. And I'm delighted to say our bookroom guest is former Celtic and Sheffield Wednesday striker Simon Donnelly. Is it fair to say striker as well as midfielder as well?
Aye, yep.
Happy with him?
Score the odd goal, yep.
Yep, I'm happy with that as well. Have I forgotten any clubs? Dunfermline?
There's a few. Partick Thistle, St Johnstone.
There you are, Ruffy. That could have been the end of the first half if I'd mentioned all those clubs, but nevertheless scored a good few goals in his time. Delighted to have Simon with us here. Let's have a look at the back pages to see what we're going to be talking about as far as some of the sports headlines. The Daily Record: I'll never get tired of this. This is Brendan Rodgers saying he'll never get tired of winning trophies at Celtic. And also we'll look at the average wages of players in the Premier League. And there's just a little byline there. Rangers fans deserve answers. This is, of course, a quote from Lee McCulloch yesterday. And The Sun: we never get enough penalties. This is Brendan Rodgers replying to the suggestion that, first of all, Scott Sinclair dived in that semi-final, and just up above it, Sinclair's off scot-free. To get off scot-free on this one, is there a suggestion that he may well have been viewed as guilty in the first place? It's open to debate, still going on. And there's Alex McLeish, Gers talks not on the cards. The Mail: Scott's not a diver, as Brendan Rodgers jumps to his defence. And again, a little sidebar there with Alex McLeish: no Ibrox contact. So there's your back page headlines. Lots to talk about. We'll get into the meat and bones of that, and we'll also preview the two Premiership games tomorrow, and two crackers they are as well. Motherwell against Celtic, take two, and also Rangers against Aberdeen. We will hear from Graham Murty shortly. Derek McInnes on the cards, Craig Gordon and also Stephen Robinson on the programme. So stick with us for that. Let's cut to the chase with Rangers, with an AGM on the horizon, Ruffy. Suddenly, there's a little note here that they're moving forward with their quest for a manager.
Well, I think they'd been moving forward in the last 2 or 3 weeks. You know, nothing seems to have changed, but there's still no name out there for anybody to debate. You know, we're now throwing a lot of names into the equation. It'll be interesting to see if they come up with something at the AGM, which might keep a few supporters happy, but we'll have to wait and see if that happens.
Yep, this was the latest update from the interim boss, Graham Murty, today.
I've discussed with Mark Allen, I've discussed with Stuart Robertson that the process is ongoing. There has been movement, but we're not quite there yet. And I think that to get the next 5, 6, 7 years right, we need to take our time now to get this appointment right. Because in the next 5 years, we want to be at the top of this league. We want to be closing the gap or even surpassing our opponents on the other side of the city, getting past Aberdeen and making sure we're at the top table of Scottish football. If we take a little bit more time now to get this appointment right, we actually get the next 5 years of progress, securing the future of this football club at the top of the league. And that's crucial to the football team.
Okay, Simon Donnelly, you've been in a similar situation, you know, when there was tremendous uncertainty at Celtic. People were looking for answers. I think Rangers fans, whether they're going to the AGM or not, will not be in any way heartened by that comment by Graham Murty, because I think the bigger picture here is not so much the recruitment of a manager who could have a good pedigree, it's how you're going to back him.
Yep. And I feel we're getting into the 5th week, you know, for the Rangers fans to go that length of time without any decision being made. You know, you can just feel the frustration building up over that period of time. I think for the first couple of games it was okay because Murty got a couple of wins. But when you start losing games again, the heat just intensifies and the pressure just builds and builds, and they have to get somebody in quick. We look at the next 2 games against Aberdeen, and they're potentially 2 games they could get beat again and be so far adrift this early in the season.
Yeah, and it's not something you can rule out, Ruffy. I mean, we've had a situation where, you know, you hear rumour, you hear various little discussions that they have spoken to Ray Wilkins. Ray Wilkins says he's in the frame. He's talked about bringing Ali McCoist in there as well. There's been some former Rangers players suggesting go for Walter Smith and Graham Souness. The desire to stop Celtic winning 10 in a row will intensify this, getting the right man in there. Is it right going back the way, or should they be looking for a forward-thinking manager who hasn't been there before to try and take them forward with, hopefully, some kind of investment?
Well, I think until we find out who that forward manager is, you know, then we obviously can't debate about it. I mean, there obviously is a lot of managers out there, but they've obviously made a mess of the last one, you know, and I think Graham Murty or somebody for Rangers came on and said this is the right pick, Coutinho, for the next 4 or 5 years, so they never got it right there. So it'd be interesting to see who is picking the next one, and I think that's what the supporters will want to know. But that for me would bring Walter in and Ali and would only obviously appease the supporters for a while. But I think everybody at a particular club likes a new face. They like to be excited by a new name. It just remains to be seen who that might be.
Yeah, Lee McCulloch mentioned yesterday he feels as if Graham Murty was basically hung out to dry with this long, slow process to get a manager, Simon.
It's not easy. It's not easy. You only have to look down south to the likes of Unsworth at Everton. Try to fill a gap, try to appease 50,000 fans every week, try to get results with Rangers. He's been working with the 21s. You know, he came in and filled the gap for a couple of games the last time before Coutinho came in, but it's a tough task to ask the guy to come in and lead Rangers Football Club. I just feel somebody from above has to step up and come out and speak to the fans and make a decision, you know, and get the right person in.
How difficult is it? I mean, you and Jackie were at Partick this line, you had to go to Dundee United. How difficult will it be for a manager to come in if he doesn't have a huge transfer kitty to ship out players, some of them on long-term tasty deals,
yep.
and try and bring in your own player that you want to change the style of Rangers?
Very difficult. Yeah, I think it took us the best part of 2 seasons at Partick, but I think at Partick Thistle, with no disrespect to Thistle, they're a lot smaller club than Rangers. I don't think you get that amount of time at Rangers. You really need to come in, like at Celtic, and hit the ground running. And that's the difficult thing that's going to be there. I think the obvious choice for me the last time round would have been Derek McInnes to come in and steady the ship for them. He knew the league, you know, he's had 4 or 5 seasons at Aberdeen. He could have come in there, steadied the ship to move forward. They've went for Coutinho, which I think was a mistake. You talk about the contracts that these players are on, it's going to take a lot of money to shift them if the next guy doesn't fancy them.
Yeah, I think the other thing here, Ruffy, we will hear from Derek McInnes talking about Aberdeen because he can focus on that now. I just get the feeling in the background that they weren't able to afford them. That's my first thought on it. But my second thought on this, quite simply, is that the AGM coming up, I think a number of Rangers fans will be saying, OK, before we get to our anger at the way this whole thing has been handled over the past 2 managers, who's getting paid what? How much are you taking out of the club? How much are you investing? What about the players' wages? How and who made the decision to justify the manager recruitment and the players? I think there's a lot of really difficult questions for that board to answer, if indeed they're able to answer them and be transparent as they claim they would be.
Yeah, I think in the AGM, I think finances will be a big point of the whole discussion, you know, because obviously a lot of the supporters remember where they were, you know, through mismanagement of running the club. And I remember when the new board went in, they said, right, we're going to be more, you know, looking what we're doing. We're not going to get back to where we were. And lo and behold, we're led to believe that the next 5 players come in are all on 20 grand plus wages. You know, I mean, that just puts you back where you are, and particularly when most of them aren't playing.
Yep, absolutely, and there's a small matter of Rangers against Aberdeen at Ibrox. Here's what Graham Murty had to say about that.
It's a really good opportunity for the players and the team to put something right and to put a really good performance in front of our crowd and actually give our fans a lift. I think that's really important. As I said, it's a fantastic opportunity to go and measure ourselves against a good team, but to go and actually get some points on the board. there is a massive rivalry, and I know Ryan took a little bit of stick when he joined us, but as far as I'm concerned, that's why you join Rangers. You join the biggest clubs to play in the biggest games, and you want your biggest personalities to really step up in those games. So it's an opportunity for those guys to see what this game's about, and also put a marker down for where we want to be.
Right now, I think Rangers need Aberdeen like a hole in the head, Robbie.
Yeah. Need a win, basically with the AGM the next day, if Rangers weren't to get a win tomorrow night, I think it would just highlight, what a bad day it's going to be for everybody the next day. So a win, although it won't cover everything, it makes some supporters a wee bit happier.
Yeah, okay, briefly, will they get it?
No, I don't think so, no. I think the best they could get would be a draw.
I think Aberdeen will win.
Okay. After the break, we're going to hear from the Dons boss, Derek McInnes. We'll also focus on Motherwell against Celtic Take 2, this time in the league at Fir Park. Join us after the break if you can. Such a tough year, that one. I can't believe we were all a year out in that, Robbie. It's just an unbelievable tough one to get, that. Sergeant Pepper, who'd have thought, 67. Anyway, let's switch our attention to Rangers' opposition on Wednesday night, which is, of course, Aberdeen. It's a double-header. It's back-to-back. There'll be Ibrox first and then up to Pittodrie at the weekend. Derek McInnes clearly now can focus on Aberdeen instead of this constant link to Rangers, and he'll be looking forward to going down there and trying to take their scalp. Maybe is there an added edge to this one, Ruffy?
No, I think obviously apart from Rangers Celtic games, the next game is Aberdeen for Rangers and Celtic, and I think there's always been history between all the clubs, the three of them, and there have always been exciting games. If it's not a league game, it's a cup final or a semi-final. So no, I think this one, Derek will want to get down there, obviously with all the hysteria about would he be the manager or wouldn't he be. He'll want to get down there and prove a point that he is a good manager and he's going to be a good manager for Aberdeen. So he'll just be focused on getting another 3 points.
Yeah, no surprise that the Dons boss can't wait for this one.
Yeah, I think it's always a fixture that's eagerly anticipated from both sets of clubs. I think our supporters will go down there, sold their allocation quite quickly and go down there in good voice and the expectation now. I know it was last year was the first time in a long period where we managed to get a result and a winning performance. But hopefully we can use that as something that we can go with added confidence on the back of a good performance on Sunday as well to try and get another 3 points, because that's the main objective, regardless of the opponent. And some games have got a bigger spotlight than others, but in different challenges. But the same objective is always to go and win 3 points home and away. And I think that our away record would suggest that we're confident enough we'll work on the road. But as I say, it'd be nice to go and get another win on the back of Sunday.
Yeah, no surprise that Derek's confident about that away record. 10 wins and 2 draws away from home in the last 12 games.
Yeah, very good, and it just shows how far Aberdeen have come under McInnes there, that they actually fancy going to Ibrox and taking 3 points. There'd be years before that they would maybe settle for a point in Glasgow, but they actually fancy their chances now. And as I say earlier on, as I said, I expect them to win on Wednesday night. Yeah,
and the other thing here, which I like about him, I like his style on this, Ruffy, is 3 games in the last 8 days. There's no moaning about playing in that schedule. It's he's already said he reckons that there's no fitter team in Scotland than his Aberdeen players. They can handle that sort of thing.
But Simon will tell you, when you're winning games, you could take 4 games in 8 days, because you just want to go into every game. Everybody's motivated, you won't do that much hard training. You'll just just getting yourself fit for the next game. And if you keep going on to one, particularly these big games, and keep winning them, just bring them on.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe not the best comparison there, saying Simon would be well up for it. That's because he's still in a 32 waist that he was in 5th year with, you know, but other people couldn't play 4 games in that amount of days. No surprise that Derek knows the incentive here. Rangers will be looking to try and avoid that back-to-back defeat. Yeah,
absolutely. I think it's going to be a tough game. We've got a lot of good players. They've got their own added motivation as well to stop a run of 2 defeats. So I think that, I'm sure their supporters will get behind their team, our supporters will get behind our team, and as I say, it's we're just wanting our players to bring a performance they're capable. I thought we'd get far closer to that on Sunday against Kilmarnock, and I think, as I say, Rangers have got good players, and we have to overcome that challenge as well. But I fully expect us to, when it's not going all our own way, to have the confidence and the poise to see things through, and knowing that we've got players that can go and cause them problems when we're on it.
Yeah, one of those players is Stevie May. How highly do you rate him, Simon?
Yeah, he was a thorn in the side for us at Dundee United a few years ago at St Johnstone. But down south, it never really happened for him. I think he had a couple of injuries. But he's got himself back in the goal scoring trail there at the weekend, a couple of goals, and I think he's one of these players that, probably like most strikers, they thrive on a little bit of confidence, they bag a couple of goals, and I read Derek saying today in the paper he expects him to go on a run, after that.
Yeah, okay, so from Rangers Aberdeen, we're going to switch our attention to Fir Park. Motherwell against Celtic. Well, this one has not only brought a fair bit of needle on the park, but there's been more than a few words spoken off the park in this one. So there's a bit of needle, a bit of edge to it. There's also a bit of fun as well, Ruffy, because Motherwell's Twitter and social media has been putting out just an appeal to the Motherwell fans to come up with songs that they'd like the DJ on the night to play ahead of this one. So I thought I'd take you through the Motherwell top 10 that I think will get an airing as the Celtic fans come in to the ground. So see if you agree with them. Here's number 1, Free Fallin' by Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. And then as we move on to number 2, I Can't Stand Up for Falling Down, which is Elvis Costello. And also Slippery People, Talking Heads, that's Simon's era. The next one that they've got there, they've suggested more than a few, Your Cheating Heart. I thought that was very unkind. I think that was Hank Williams' version, at least Ruffy told me that. And the theme from Titanic, I think you've got to have that, Ruffy. That sums it up really. Number 6, if they get these all in, Dive by Nirvana. As you can see, the Motherwell fans have put a lot of thought into this. I'm Fallen by the Bluebells, not a bad track, well worth listening to for the noise up. Number 8 is I Get Knocked Down But I Get Up Again. It's actually called Tub Thumping, but I thought we'd stick it in anyway. Number 9, A Touch Too Much by AC/DC. And number 10, I never thought we'd do a top 10 songs on this programme, but number 10, to finish it all off, is I'm Going Down by Bruce Springsteen. So it's not a bad top 10, and it's a great noise up for the fans, isn't it?
Yeah, am I missing the theme of that? Is that revolving and then it's happened recently?
Exactly. Well, the reason I'm saying it is because, quite simply, I mean, we'll do a top 10 for the Celtic fans as well, just for a bit of parity on this. But as far as reading between the lines, there's no appeal from Cedric Kipre. And this is, first of all, what Motherwell manager Stephen Robinson had to say about why they're not appealing.
Very simple. We've appealed numerous decisions. And we've wasted a lot of time and money, if we're being honest. It costs us money every time we appeal. Another reason is we want Cedric Kipre totally focused on Wednesday night and Saturday. We've got big games. And the reality is his ban is next season in the first round of the Cup. And by then he could be in the Premier League because he's going to be a top footballer. So I think we need to concern ourselves with the here and now. And the here and now is Wednesday night and Saturday.
Do you buy into that, Simon?
No. I think you look at it back, I think the fact that Sinclair's not going to be punished as well, I think it's a penalty. I think you can argue it's a soft penalty, but there's contact And whether he goes down or he doesn't go down is irrelevant. It's a penalty kick. I was at Celtic Park earlier in the season when they played Hibs, and he goes by, I think it's Ambrose, and he's getting pulled constantly, but he gets his shot away. That's a penalty kick as well, but he never got it, you know, and there was people at the time saying, oh, he should have went down. For me, Sunday, it was a penalty.
Yeah, I mean, this is the big debate on it. I mean, here's my take on it. I thought it was soft. I thought it was really harsh. We've debated yesterday on the programme, Ruffy, about why the referee was faced with that decision to give him a red card. But quite simply, Motherwell will look at that and say, well, wait a minute, he's put his hand out, which is the first thing you think, why did you even give them a reason to look and maybe presume guilty? Secondary to that, I think, you know, they'll look and say from Hampden, you're not going to win that appeal because he's done that. Whether it's a slight touch or not, you're not going to win that appeal.
Simon's touched it right in the head. Was there contact? Yes. Was there enough contact for him to go down? Then you have to make your mind up, you know, and obviously the whole Celtic think it was, and the whole of Motherwell think it wasn't.
Yeah.
You know, there's nobody at Motherwell thinks that was a penalty. If you read players, manager, supporters, everybody, so that just puts you in confusion. You've got to make up your own mind whether the contact was enough for him to go down, you know, and Brendan Rodgers added a wee bit in his bit today when he said, yeah, Scott was a wee bit smart. I'd love to know what he meant by that.
Yeah, well, smart. If you're going to touch me and it throws me a little bit off balance, why should I try and keep my balance? It's as simple as that. Professional footballers throw it back to the referee to make the call, and he made it. Of course, listen, Motherwell are keen to get Celtic at Fir Park. Stephen Robinson says they'll be ready to go.
Listen, what better game to get yourself back up for? You know, it's obviously there was disappointment around the club on, you know, after the game on Monday, which was only natural. My biggest disappointment was for the group of players and the fans. You know, the game was effectively over after 55 minutes. So for both sets of fans, you know, Celtic want to win in the last minute and make it absolutely brilliant, and you know, we want to nick a result and then it's a fairy tale ending. So it's, you know, the game was effectively over. So that was the disappointment, but we're over that now. We're over that, and we get another opportunity in football, and what an opportunity Wednesday night to make sure, you know, we were in the game for 55 minutes, make no mistake. So we'll make sure we're prepared and ready to go again.
They're one of those clubs you wouldn't rule them out having a right go to end this run, Ruffy.
Yeah, but again, as I said at the weekend, I think they have to strike first. You know, I think they have to get the confidence of going one up against Celtic, as I said, they needed to at the weekend, because if Celtic go ahead early on, obviously the memory of the weekend comes back into your mind, and then you've got to deal with it. So, yeah, I think it'll be a really good game.
OK, hang fire on your prediction. We're going to hear from Celtic goalkeeper Craig Gordon and talk about Motherwell Celtic Take 2. I knew for an absolute fact that Simon Donnelly wouldn't get that one wrong, because the Human League, Ruffy, an absolutely fantastic album, and his best pal Jackie had the Phil Oakey haircut, and Simon had the Flock of Seagulls hairstyle. So the two of them used to pad about Glasgow nightclubs. Didn't get into any of them, but they were trying to get in with that hairstyle. Didn't quite work out for them. So Simon Donnelly gets it right. 1981, absolutely no problem whatsoever. And this programme can never be accused of not being fair, Ruffy, because we had the Motherwell Mega Mix, and I think it's only fair that we give Celtic fans the chance to maybe offer the DJ on Wednesday night maybe some Celtic tunes that they might play with regards to what happened in the Cup and after it as well, Ruffy. So I've got the top 10. I feel a bit like Alan Freeman here, giving you the top 10 from Celtic's perspective, and the first one is roll with it, because you just got to get on with it, Ruffy. You know. So Oasis is going to be number 1. You Raise Me Up by Brian Kennedy. I'm sure Scott Sinclair will enjoy that one, and Scott Brown. Number 3 for the Celtic ones, Catch Me If You Can, which I think is an old classic. Number 4, I thought this was a little bit subliminal there, A Forest by The Cure, which I know you and I both remember, but Ruffy doesn't even know there was a band called The Cure. Number 5, 4 to the floor, which of course Celtic fans will be well aware of the implications of that. Number 6, you can't touch this, which I'm sure the DJ would be happy to fire out MC Hammer. Number 7, I Lift My Cup, which was a dance song, Ruffy, by Glowworm, which is relevant to Sunday's exploits. Number 8, Wishing Well, by Free. That was probably in your era, when you had the bell bottoms on and the mullet. Number 9, Ain't No Stopping Us Now, by McFadden and Whitehead. Would you have got that?
Yeah, I've got that one.
You've got that one. And number 10, which I think is Don't Play No Game That I Can't Win. Would you have got that one?
No, I wouldn't have got that one.
No? I think, if my memory serves me correct, I think that might be Drake. I think, no, the Beastie Boys, that's what I remember. As I was putting the list together, I thought the Beastie Boys is one. Simon's giving me that blank look as if to say, who are the Beastie Boys? But nevertheless, this is a Celtic side looking forward to the game. 65 unbeaten now. And of course, Craig Gordon has been speaking about this incredible run and, of course, the achievements of the manager, Brendan Rodgers.
Yeah, it's great. We've had another good start to the season. It's always the first thing we look for, because it's such an early cup final. We try and to get there as quickly as we can and try and get the first trophy. And we've managed to do that again this year. It's a great place to start our season from and to go on and try and get more. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't happen that often. I think you have to go back some distance to see it being done again. And yeah, it's a special achievement. It's I think it was 364 days, so he's got the 4 trophies inside a year. So yeah, that's something pretty special. It's a really difficult thing to achieve, and we've managed to do it. We're still hungry for more. We want to continue doing that, and yeah, the manager's always striving to get more out of the players and improve us. So we're still trying to do that, and we'll try and win some more.
Yeah, well, the manager clearly has everyone playing and singing from the same hymn sheet here, Ruffy, because they all buy into his ethos.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, you can talk about who they're playing or what they're doing, but I mean, to be on that kind of run and to go every week on week, you know, and have the mentality to not even look as if you're going to get beaten is incredible. I think they're all working extremely hard behind the scenes, and they're all getting the rewards of it. And you're right, the mentality that Brendan Rodgers has put into the players individually is something that I don't think we've seen for a long time, because no other manager has done it in my time anyway. Yeah,
can you see anybody stopping them this season? Could you see it being back-to-back unbeaten domestically?
I thought going to Aberdeen a few weeks ago was a potential banana skin, and they blew Aberdeen away in the first half. I feel tomorrow night's game is one of those games that, you know, Motherwell will be a stiff test on the back of the cup final and the disappointment and everything that's happened in the game. I think they'll be up for it. You know, speaking from a player's point of view, they'll be up for the game tomorrow. But to answer your question, the juggernaut of Celtic just keeps going on, and I can see them doing it again. I really can.
Here's a double whammy for you then. Tough enough to answer is, can you see anyone stopping them 10 in a row? That's the first thing. Does it need? It will obviously need a massive injection of cash from somebody to get Rangers into a position. That's the first thing. Can you see anybody stopping them? And over and above that, is it healthy for Scottish football?
I think you always want the competition. I think what Brendan's did over the last season and a bit, he's installed a bit of excitement back into the club. You know, they're on the crest of a wave, albeit a couple of disappointing results in the Champions League. They look to me as if they're going to get European football after Christmas, which is a success. I think that's good for Scottish football. Obviously, you're looking at other teams there to go and make a challenge, but they're so far ahead just now. I don't see the 10 being stopped. I really don't. They've got players there that potentially selling value can bring huge amounts of cash into the club moving forward. He's got youth coming through there, which I really like. You know, boys that have been at the club. You had McGregor's and Tierney's coming through. Forrest scoring again in the cup final. They really are, and as I said there, a crest of a wave. And that's the excitement, you know, for the Celtic fans in particular. Scottish football hopefully gets behind them, you know, because I can see them getting a run in the Europa League. You know, if the draw's kind to them and the momentum gets going, they've showed against the likes of Anderlecht that they can compete at that level. PSG and Bayern Munich are something different, but I think for that point of view, it's good for Scottish football.
Yeah. What about Dembele? He'll miss potentially the 2 matches against Motherwell. Is it when you've got somebody like Lee Griffiths here, you can afford to let him sit it out and wait for the Champions League match on December 5th?
No, you've seen when Lee Griffiths comes in, he wants to prove to Brendan Rodgers he's the number one, you know, and every time he comes in, and I keep saying this, when he scores, he lets everybody else know in the crowd that he is the number one, whether Brendan Rodgers thinks Dembele is. And that's what he's working on just now, and you can see the enjoyment that he's getting every time he is the number one and he's scoring goals, and he's had a fantastic season.
Yeah, I've got to ask you, Ruffy, just one in particular after listening to Craig Gordon there. He's got it in the neck from some quarters. He's made some mistakes. He's had that furore over whether he can kick the ball out. He's had to live with that and get used to that as well. It was an unbelievable save. I think you've got to give him, the lad, credit for the save against Moult at the weekend. I just thought it was right. I mean, if that's not save of the season, I'll be gobsmacked.
Yeah, he came out and said it was the best save he's ever made. I would say he's made better saves than that. I think what he's done is he's made an important save. He's made a save that's probably, although the scoreline and the penalty thing that carried on, that save probably was the momentum for Celtic to win that game, because I think if it had went in, Motherwell would have got a wee lifeline. And but I think he's definitely made better saves this year, and the people who are knocking him, it just shows you where he is. You know, he's at a level now that people want to knock you. You know, if you look at all the big, fantastic goalkeepers throughout the years, they wait on you making a mistake so they can have a wee dig at you. So he's put himself in the position that he's going to make mistakes like every other goalkeeper, but not as many mistakes as some people are making out.
Yeah, okay. Here's what he makes of that save at the weekend.
Yeah, that was an important one. Very soon after we scored, it probably seemed to deflate the Motherwell players a little bit at that time. We started to get on top of the game. We were, you know, apart from that one chance, we were well in control at that stage. Came out second half and really upped the tempo and started to look a real threat going forward. I think we went through a few gears in the start of that second half, and I think we're all very confident at that point, especially after that save, that we were going to go on and win the game. That one will be right up there for the reason, the importance of it being a cup final, and being at a moment in the match that turned the tide our way, and you know, as I say, we went from strength to strength from that moment on. A few minutes later we were 2-0 up, and the game was pretty much done from there. So yeah, from that point of view, the importance of the save, and sometimes you can make a great save and you're still on the losing side, so that doesn't have the same importance. So to have that importance in a game that is a cup final is always going to rank pretty highly with me.
Okay, now in the league, who wins it Wednesday?
I think, as I said there, it'll be a tight one. I think it'll be a difficult one, but I think Celtic will come out on top again.
Yeah, I think Celtic will just edge it as well. I think the tighter pitch will make it more exciting. I think Motherwell will get back to where they are at home, and I think anybody going to that game will be really entertained, but I think Celtic will just win it with the odd goal.
Yeah, interesting wee story here, Ruffy, that Celtic have made an approach to buy an ownership stake in the Australian club, Central Coast Mariners. It can only be viewed as a feeder for anything that's in Australia to the similar calibre of Tom Rogic.
Well, you just have to look at Man City, Man United. They're all doing it now. They're all buying clubs. You know, you've got to look at every aspect there is to get young players in, and certainly it's another where Celtic are just now. They're up there with the big teams.
Okay, thanks to Ruffy for that. After the break, we'll talk Hibs and Hearts, and we'll also look at the average players' wages in Scotland. At last, Ruffy finally ended that run there and just nodded one in at the back post, 2001.
Yep, I just won out again. Unfortunately, there was the Man United one. I knew they won the treble in '99, but I don't know if that was in the middle, but obviously it wasn't.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, that explains why he got it wrong. Let's move on to Hibernian, because still a fallout from the weekend. Neil Lennon's side, according to the Hibs manager, should have got 3 points. He was highly critical of not only Hamilton's players and the way they went about their business, but he was critical of the referee, Don Robertson, as well. Now, he's come out and said that it was down to the frustration over the officials' display and not sour grapes. If we're talking about Craig Gordon coming up with the best save of the season, this, I think, has got to be the best rant in an after-match interview, and it's down to Neil Lennon. He's the winner with this one.
My thoughts on the game is there was one team trying to play football and the other team trying to kick the crap out of the opposition. We got no protection today at all. We're going to lose John McGinn. Either he goes to England or he'll end up in hospital. The quality of tackling was a disgrace from the opposition. I think the tackle count was, or foul count was 19-7. They had 5 yellow cards. How they ended up with 11 men on the pitch is beyond me. If you see our goal again, 2 of them tried to take Barker out. No attempt to play the ball. The referee should have went back to it and booked them. The tackle on McGinn at the end is disgraceful. We should have had a penalty on McGeoch. Redmond took him out as he's gone to cross the ball. And we believe there might have been a foul in the build-up to their goal. So I'm very frustrated, not with my team. I thought my team were brilliant, but disappointed with the referee. I thought he was completely out of his depth. We're going back to the 1950s. I like a tackle. I like the game played the right way. I like hard men, but anyone can kick people. And they were taking swipes at us at every opportunity that they could. And it's not on.
Yeah, I think that wins the award, Roffy, just quite simply. Neil Lennon is one of those managers that it's an absolute joy. I could second guess some managers who come into press conferences and they would never say a word that was in any way controversial, but Neil just gives you it straight down the line from the heart.
Yeah, and I think that's what obviously the media will like, and he comes in and what you see is what you get. You know, you can see he's frustrated by obviously losing the goal, and I think his frustration is not only in that game but a lot of the other games that he's losing points because he believes that Hibs could be the second team this year. You know, and if they hadn't lost some of the points they've been losing, they would be sitting there right now. So I think his ambition is to be second, and I think he's just frustrated, you know, that his team is just letting themselves down on the odd occasion.
Yep, he might have been frustrated with the referee, but over and above that, I think Neil, when he goes into a room on his own, will sit down, probably with his backroom team as well, to be perfectly honest with you, and suggest we need to go and recruit players in the January window that mean that we don't have to rely on just that odd goal and then maybe suffer at the hands of a refereeing decision or a lack of refereeing decisions in a match. I think they're lacking one bit of the, maybe 2 bits of the jigsaw.
I think he'll be sitting with his backroom team and actually, I mean, Lenny's a winner, but I think he'll be satisfied with the start they've made to the season. In terms of recruitment, it depends who they hold on to in the January window, I feel. You know, they've got players there, particularly John McGinn, who will be attracting a lot of interest. You know, he's had a really good start to the season. He's got himself into the national setup. So I think it really depends on that in January. But I think, over and above all, I think he can be satisfied with the start they've made. As Ruffy says, I think they'll be up there challenging Aberdeen for second place.
Strangely enough, though, Ruffy, knowing him as I do, I don't think he will. I think he's through there drumming into players. I'm not happy with draws. I mean, you know, having had a long chat with him in the summer, he's not interested in anybody who's like, oh, we got a good draw there, or we played not bad. He's absolutely leathering them week in, week out on standards that are up there, and if they don't get there, they won't be there much longer.
Yeah, but it's a difficult one, you know, for him coming from where he's been and then going into a club who haven't been there. you know, it's a difficult one when you've got players that he's working with that haven't had that mentality. So I think he's done wonders so far to change it round so quick, because obviously, you know, the players are now buying into it, and I would like to think that they're as disappointed as he is in the dressing room after the game, and I'm sure they will be, because we've saw what he's like. You know, he's not going to miss them, you know, if he thinks that they aren't pulling their weight. But in saying that, you know, even though he loses points and he thinks they'll put in a good shift, he's quite happy to praise them. So I think that the players will appreciate that. But yeah, he's got a target he's going for, and the players have to buy into it.
I think for a team that have just come up, you know, promoted, for us to be speaking about them as potential second place speaks volumes of him as a manager and the squad he's got there.
Yeah.
I think Hamilton maybe equalised late on in that game as well, so I think that adds to the frustration as well in his post-match interview.
Yeah, and you're better placed than most to know, coming from a club where it was win-win-win every week when you were playing with Celtic, and then you go down to Sheffield Wednesday, and the mindset from some clubs down there, and I include Sheffield Wednesday in this, is you go away somewhere and you get a draw and everybody's thinking, that was all right.
Yeah, it's totally different. It's totally different. I think I've went on record saying that I left a dressing room at Celtic, in comparison with the dressing room in Sheffield Wednesday, the quality wasn't what I'd just left. But yeah, in terms of mentality, and I think that's what he's trying to instill in the Hibs boys, you know that winning mentality. And I just think it's a huge credit to them that we are sitting here talking about them as potential second place in the Premiership, you know, a year after, or less than a year after being promoted.
Yeah, and having watched Championship League One down south, had you joined Sheffield Wednesday now, you wouldn't get a kick of the ball, you know, because sometimes I watch those divisions and they don't play with midfielders.
It wouldn't suit my game, let's say.
Interestingly enough, Ruffy, and I looked at this stat that came out last night. It was just a look into the average wages in the Premier League in Scotland. Obviously Celtic, the average one is just over 14,000 now. There are some at the top end of that. I think Scott Sinclair, Scott Brown, they'll be up at the 30, possibly just above that as well. Maybe even Dembele, round about that kind of a wage structure. But if you were looking at where teams should be on their spend, you've got Celtic way out in front. Then it's 6,000 average a week is, Rangers. Then it's Aberdeen. Then it's Hearts, just ahead of Hibs, who are, the fifth best wage. And when you look at that, you say to yourself, coming up from, as Simon said, the Championship, they are going great guns. It's all sometimes not only about the manager, but about recruitment is key.
Yeah, but I think the Hibs fans have always bought into having a successful side. I think even when Alec McLeish took them down to the first division, there was 17,000 going to their games. Neil's turned that around and going there. They're averaging the same just now. And not only have the players bought into, where they should be, so have the supporters, and obviously if you've got that kind of support coming through the gate, as Hearts are, obviously you're going to be paying better players, better wages, and that seems to be, as it is just now, where you're getting success.
Who do you think the best performing side would be in the Premiership on the basis of what they're paying on average a week?
I would think it'd have to be Hamilton Accies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would think Hamilton Accies would unfortunately be the lowest paid, and where they are and what they're doing at this precise moment is superb. I
think it's Motherwell.
Yeah.
Motherwell average 820. They are the second bottom in the wage structure. I think Motherwell have exceeded everything. I think this season.
I think they have. I went to watch them earlier in the season. I think it was against Kilmarnock, and I wasn't overly impressed. I spoke to Craig Hinchliffe after the game, the goalkeeping coach there, and he wasn't happy with the performance that day. He says we can perform a lot better. Ever since, they've not looked back. They've got themselves to the national final. They're sitting in the top half of the league. In Moult, they have an opportunist striker there that can get a goal out of nothing. They've done incredibly well this season.
Yeah, I'm just curious to see how they go. January's going to be crucial for Motherwell, Ruffy. Whether they decide to cash in and Moult, keep them, save that money, and look at it and say to themselves, well, we're in top six, can we just stay in there and climb?
Well, I don't think it matters what decision they make, but I think the supporters will be happy with what they've seen. I think they've been entertained royally. Obviously, getting to a final helps. So if Louis Moult does decide to go, or the club let him go, I don't think he'll get a hardship for that.
Yeah, just one last point to finish, Ruffy. I might as well get your thoughts on it. Sam Allardyce suddenly back in the frame for the Everton job. That's what I call the alarm bells going off at Goodison now, because they're starting to get perilously close to the bottom three.
Yeah, well, he's got a track record, isn't he? If you want somebody to stay out of that bottom three, he's your man. You know, he's done it year in, year out. So, you know, why not go with him? He's so confident in everything that he does.
Strange situation, Simon. Uncertainty in clubs, delays in finally getting a manager.
Yeah, you just look at, obviously, the Rangers thing as well. I think it's a knee-jerk reaction at times with the boards, and they don't have anything in place. You know, you look at Ronald Koeman, De Boer at Crystal Palace early in the season. Top coaches, you're not going to tell me they're not top coaches, but for whatever reason, kicked out, you know, after 3-4 bad games.
Yep, tough times down at Everton, and the debate goes on with, of course, Rangers and who's going to be the new manager. We'll undoubtedly talk about that tomorrow again. From Simon, from Ruffy and myself, thanks for watching. Good night.